Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. We're here to give you guys a conversation around this particular topic. It says why men get angry, but they say they're not emotional like women. It's actually a two-part conversation because the first part of the conversation I really want to talk about is really amongst the area of even recognizing our own anger. As I always say, I like to give you my therapy and what I did and then kind of bring it to you guys and hopefully help some men along the way as well. So if you're a lady and you're watching, please pass it on to a fellow brother, uncle, nephew, whatever. Pass on to somebody who wants this, maybe your husband even. All right. And if you're a man here as well, thank God. We appreciate you. And hopefully we can grow together as well going forward. Look, let's talk about this subject, right? The topic of anger, the reason why it came up is because as I was talking to my therapist, there was a situation that was going on and I spoke about my own anger. You know, one of the things I find very difficult is to really sit with my own anger. I don't like being angry. In fact, I can be angry maybe for an hour or two and then I have to let it go. I just got to let it go. It just does it's too much on my body. You know, my system can't take being angry that long. And it came back to me, like, a scripture came to me, but it says, be angry and sin not. Being angry isn't an issue, but the sin often is the action that we take from that anger that leads to something destructive. And so I was like, okay, cool. Let me try and understand a little bit about myself more and why I'm uncomfortable with being angry. And as always, when we break down this topic, we like to go from the point of origin of pain, bring you down in through some of the, the why, the feelings and the translation and what behaviors it elicits, and then finally end on the problems that it creates as well, right? And then we'll kind of deal with part two where I say about why men get angry and say that they're not like women who are emotional. All right. So if you're sitting with us from Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're hitting us from, I really, really appreciate you guys joining us and being a part of the conversation. Hopefully, again, once more, this is going to help. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel Little Black Book 91. We are talking today about why men get angry, but they say you're not emotional. And in part one, I'm going to talk more about my own experience with anger and the issues behind it as well. So if you're in the chat, please leave a comment there as well. If you're watching a replay, leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know if this makes sense to you. I'm going to start off with my OOP, my OOP. Okay, so from now on, when we call it as our OOP, say it with me, OOP. What does that mean? It means origin of pain, where this thing originally starts from, right? A bit like an earthquake, and it has this original center where it came from, the epicenter. We're going to start with the OOP, the origin of pain. So let me tell you something. So when I was younger, I used to love my dad coming through the door. When he finishes work, he comes through the door. That guy, this guy can cook. You know what I mean? He was a chef at one point, cooking and things, and his food always is slap. I remember the days where he was come back from work, where he was doing chefery, and he would come back with some sponge cake. Man, that used to slap. Shout out to Dad for those cakes. They were slapping. What? He would bring it in a bucket, a round bucket too. You know what I mean? It was a round bucket too, real nice round bucket. And literally, he brought the bucket and had cake in. And I was like, you know what? This is such a banging thing. Then obviously once he had left that place and he had changed, it is different, right? At that point in time now, when he had changed jobs, I don't know what it changed to, whatever. He then would start coming home, but now he'd be frustrated. And I wouldn't know why there would be frustration. I'm not sure why there was anger. I wasn't sure why there was some type of pain. I wasn't sure why there was some type of what he was feeling, right? He might have been going through something. I don't know. Maybe I should have a conversation with him and find out. Maybe I'll find out a little bit later. Maybe it was a stress of life. Coming from Africa, from Ghana, coming here, being stressed. You got a degree and they tell you that, you can't work certain jobs and you have to start from the very bottom. I could imagine it might elicit some frustration and some pain and some annoyance, right? So I'm not going to be mad at that. I can kind of see where maybe that kind of comes from. But something changed. So now when he's coming through the door, there's anger, frustration, there's tenseness when he comes through the door. And as a kid, you begin to pick up these things. And as a kid, you're kind of narcissistic in a way that you start to think about, it must be because of me, right? So when he was coming through the door, what was happening was that at this point in time, I'm now sensing the change of emotions when you come through the door. I guess this kind of leads to what we talk about feelings, right? What do you feel in those moments? As a kid, when I first was him coming through the door, I was joyful, I was happy, I was excited. I was looking forward to it, I was anticipating. There was a lot of feelings in me that were coming from this place that I wanted to, I was happy to see my dad. Then when things changed, now I was apprehensive. Now I was scared. Now I was upset. Now I was isolated. Now I was anxious. Now I'm feeling avoidant. Now I'm feeling fearful. Now I'm feeling helpless and I'm feeling confused when you come through the door and you come through the door with this kind of vexedness or frustration, or you're ready to cuss people out. Now, if you know anything about some of you parents, some of your parents have come through this. They come through the door and they're ready to cuss your ass out. If there's even a speck of dust flying in the air, they're ready to cuss your ass out. If there's even a dish that has just been that's in the kitchen sink for a few seconds, they're ready to cuss your ass out. If there's a shoe that shouldn't have been there, they're ready to cuss your ass out. If there is clothes somewhere, they're ready to cuss your ass out. There's washing has been, it can take anything to trigger them and they're gone. It took anything to trigger them and then they're suddenly gone, right? So one of the hardest things I had to, at that point as a kid, you make a decision. What are you going to do? And my way of coping with it was actually in some point was to now say, I don't want to be helpless. I'm going to do something to make a change. A bit like what Will Smith was kind of saying with his father and how he, dealt with the abuse aspect, right? How I would deal with it was now I would make sure I did things. So whether it was the dishes, whether it was ironing, whether it was cleaning the house, whether it was, I would do something to make sure that I would stay out the way. That I'm not going to get cussed. I'm not going to get drawn out. You're not going to have your anger put upon me. I'm going to do something, right, to make sure I assuade your frustrations towards me. This is where my people-pleasing ways began. Okay, this is where my people-pleasing ways began. I started my people-pleasing ways, okay? So now I would do things in order to assuade the anger. What we would do I would do things to make up for his anger, okay? All right, cool. So as I said about my feelings towards that situation, we always talk about the why. Why do you feel that way? For me personally, as a child, I really look forward to my dad obviously coming home. And then when it changed, I now was full of dread and I just wanted to scatter. I just didn't want to be the brunt of your frustration. I didn't want to feel like I'm getting hit on, and I'm not talking about physically, but emotionally or verbally. I didn't want to feel like that, right? So the translation of this is when dad comes home, I got to get out the way. Okay? When dad comes home, I got to get out the way. And until I feel it's safe, don't come out. So either I'm going to start coming home late, so I come after you, so I miss the brunt of whatever you're feeling, or I'm gonna, if I get there early, let me make sure the place is clean, tidied up, everything like that. Okay? All right? I just don't want to do anything to upset him and cause anger. Now, of course, this is not an everyday issue. I want to make it very clear because I want to make that nuance very, very clear for people. It's not an everyday thing that someone comes home and they do that behavior, but they do it enough that you're now not sure. And that's actually where that's where the real issue comes in. They do it enough that you're not now sure. What the hell chocolate sitting, right? They do it enough that you're not even sure whether, you're not really sure how they're going to react, how they're going to move. And so you're almost like kind of anticipating, as in a sense, right? You're kind of anticipating a little bit. So now I'm like, okay, now I got to almost guess what mood you're going to be in. So now I start to develop certain techniques of how to notice when you're in a mood. I now know by the way you turn the door key, it's going to be on or it's going to be off. Right? That's when I start developing a hypersensitivity to people's changes in mood. This is also a positive and a negative. You become hypersensitive to people's changes. So now I'm very much aware, even by the way you walk into the house, how you turn the key, how you walk down the corridor, how you call my name. I now know by that what's going to happen next. So what am I going to do? I'm going to adjust myself. I don't want you to get to that place at all. But I become hypersensitive, right? Cool. All right. So, like I said, my behavior that I develop now is hypersensitivity. I become hyper aware and I develop techniques of avoidance because I want to avoid you, but I also want to avoid how I feel. Now, this is actually more to do with the child. The attachment style oftentimes is, yes, the parent gets involved, but the child also has a part to play in it, because that child may have certain personality traits or certain ways about life, just certain natures about them that makes them more inclined to behave in a particular way. So I'm more inclined to be more avoidant when it comes to, I want to avoid the emotions I feel. Okay, all right? I want to avoid how I feel. So I wanted to stay out of the way and learn to appease so the sleeping giant doesn't awaken. Okay? Now, here's the biggest problem I noticed with this. Problem number one is this. I now associated anger and expressing anger as a negative thing. I now associated anger and expressing my anger as a negative thing. I can no longer see anger as just being a natural emotion that we feel because someone's hurt you or you feel frustrated or whatever, right? Anger now, for me, became something you shouldn't do because I know how it made me feel and I don't want other people to feel, okay? All right? I'm going to go back slightly. I'm going to give you a second story. Normally I'll give one story, but I'm going to give a second story. A couple of years back ago when I was in school, I was touted to play the lead role called Scrooge. If you ever heard the story of Scrooge, you know what it is. I was touted to play the key role of Scrooge, right? And as I was playing this particular role, what happened was the director asked me at a point, I need you to be angry. And I looked at the director and I said, bro, I can't do it. He said, no, listen, tap in. Yeah? Think about what makes you angry. And I told him again, I don't get angry. I don't know what anger is. I can't be angry. Now, I told this story because I actually realized at a point in time that I was struggling to be able to tap into that emotion because I was afraid of what that would unleash. What I had seen, I did not want to replicate. So I didn't know how to be angry. I did, okay? But I didn't want to intentionally enter that space. So I decided to say, I don't know how to be angry. Hey. I don't want to be angry. So I don't know how to be angry when I really did know how to be angry, right? I did. Okay, so problem number one, like I said, I associated being angry and expressing anger as a negative, okay? So I avoided it. But that leads to problem number two. Problem number two is I became nice and manipulative. So now I'm not going to tell you how I feel. I'm just going to be extra nice to you if you hurt me or you hurt my feelings or you're rude to me or if you get, if something happens that I feel like I should be angry about, I will go numb and just become nice to you. And I'll say, I don't really care about it. It doesn't really matter to me. It's all good. Yeah, it's not a big deal. And that's actually how I would deal with it. I would deal with it in that particular manner. I would just be like, yeah, no. And actually what I started to realize is that's a problem because I'm actually being manipulative. Really and truly, I'm not telling you how I feel. And neither am I giving you the realness of actually how I feel. So even if I'm hurt, what will happen is I would overcompensate, which leads to problem number three. Problem number three is, as I become nice and manipulative because I'm using my niceness to try and make you feel some type of way, it's going to lead to what we call a build-up, right? It's going to lead to what we call a pile-on. I'm gonna let the list of offenses grow, and then I'm going to slaughter you. Yeah? I'm going to give it to you good. Okay, I'm gonna give it to you good, right? And that happened a few times where it just piled on, and the person says that, and I snap, boom, right? Or it might be a case of, if it's not that aspect, maybe I'll try to, like I said, I'll try to remain as calm as possible and let you go as angry as possible, and I'll be like, you know what? Why are you in that space? Why are you so angry with yourself? Right? So if someone was trying to come at me, I'd try to make them even more angrier and I would remain so calm. Why are you so vexed? You don't need to be so vexed. You're angry over what? Tell me what you're angry about. Right? And I know I'm pissing them off, but it's my way of kind of like, you hurt me, so I'm gonna make you angrier and I'm gonna stay cool because I know it's gonna make you feel some type of way. Right? I know that you coming at me and you think you got me. I'm going, no, I'm gonna make you more angry, right? And number four is, that when I got angry, I refused to accept that I was angry, right? So it's my fourth problem with it. the refusal to accept that I was actually angry about situations. I was actually angry about certain things. I would be like, someone asks me, "You're angry?" I'm like, "No, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. That's not anger. I'm not angry. You know, I'm not angry. Come on, guys. I'm not really angry. It's not that. You know what I'm saying to you? I'm not. I'm not angry. Maybe I'm just a little, maybe I'm just a little, this, maybe I'm just a little, I don't know, but I'm not angry. I'm not angry. Yeah, yeah. Angry's too much, bro. Angry's too much. Do you know what I mean? I would be, yes, in denial, right? So I would deny that I was angry because I associated it with so much negativity that I didn't know how to sit in it, that when I'm angry and I'm showing you anger, I can't accept that I'm angry. I'm not angry. I'm actually not angry. I'm really not. And I was angry, right? And, there's still parts of me that even till this day, when people offend me, I don't always, tell them that I'm hurt by what they said or I'm angry about what they said. You know what I'm saying to you? I try to like leave it alone rather than sometimes addressing it. And that's a problem because you can pile on, right? Now I'm kind of the other way where you upset me and I'm telling you straight away, I'm upset by what you did. You know what I mean? Like it's about finding your balance. And I'm trying to find my balance now. I think now where I'm like, okay, now I am angry. I ain't gonna lie to you. And I'm vexed. And before I explode, I just want to let you know what you did offended me and hurt me. And I'm gonna let you know. But sometimes you just now you got to find a balance. Sometimes you got to let things go. And sometimes you got to be able to say, now I need to say something, right? So for me personally, there was a lot of stuff that I was dealing with when it comes to anger. Okay, so it was very, very tough to be able to deal with anger because it was such a negative thing. And this is why the Bible scripture is so powerful, that be angry, but sin not. The anger as an emotion is not an issue. Anger is a response to the frustration you feel when there's an obstacle in your way that you cannot overcome. And that is natural. All human beings feel anger. And so you're allowed to feel that particular type of way. I just needed to learn how to sit with that particular feeling. I didn't know how to. I just needed to learn how to sit with it and be okay. In fact, the other day, I was in Ghana and I was walking and something happened and I was like, I'm actually angry, I'm actually angry, I'm actually angry. And I was like, but I need to, and I said, but am I allowed to be angry? I had to ask myself the question, but are you allowed to be angry? Because if you're angry, that's not gonna, and I had to speak to myself again, hey, it's okay to be angry. There's some things that are gonna anger you, something's gonna frustrate you, something's gonna hurt you. It's okay. Don't deny how you feel. It's one of my big words of the last 2023 to now is honor how you feel. Honor it. It's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with you feeling angry. You are allowed to be angry. Now, what are you going to do about that anger? Is the key question. Am I going to blow you out the water? Am I going to cuss you to kingdom come? Am I going to remove the helmet of salvation upon your head? I'm going to pull your wig back, as someone might say, right? Am I going to do that? Or am I going to am I going to explain to you where I feel frustration and where I feel hurt from what you've actually done? Do you know what I mean? And I'm still learning that in a better way, right? I'm still learning that in a better way in terms of really addressing pains and hurts that people do to me and learning not to be so extreme with my reaction. I'm still learning how to come back to the middle. I'm still learning that point. And it's such an interesting kind of journey because I'm now starting to feel stuff. Okay? All right? And that's a great point, El Cid. That's a really great point. Getting me angry means I allow you to move my needle, control issues. Yes, I don't want you to ever feel like you got control over me. And that is one of the biggest issues when it comes to those of us who are avoidant. We don't want the person to ever feel like they got a hold of me. I don't want to ever feel like, you got one up on me. You know what I mean? So sometimes you deny it. But the reality of the situation is, like I always say, being vulnerable is also so powerful because what it allows you to do is also observe what the other person does, but also as well observe how you do. Like, how am I going to react in this situation? How do I want to react? Slowing things down. That's why the Bible says be slow to anger. It's like, let the anger's real, it's going to happen, but be slow to it because you need to be able to assess what's really going on, right? Being angry isn't an issue. Once more again, you're allowed to feel it, you're allowed to do so. As well, so just that little part. Now let's go into part 2. The real question we're talking about here is why men get angry but say they're not emotional. I have witnessed this so many times before. We're on part 2, by the way, guys. In fact, let me do a little intro so we can do it. So I'm going to cut this video and make it 2 parts. You know what time it is. Time it is 2 parts. So. All right, cool. So part 2. We're talking about this question, which is why men get angry but say they're not emotional, right? I have sat with several men on panels and stuff like this, especially on the internet. It seems to be the internet seems to be the place where I hear this a lot of stuff, right? Where men will tell you, where men will get angry, frustrated, in the moment, be cussing people out, be saying stuff, coming out of pocket, whatever, and then tell you in the same moment, I'm not as emotional as a woman, right? So that's why I've chosen this title. First and foremost, both men and women are emotional. You know why? Because God created you to be such. You know why? Because God himself is emotional. It is the word emotional that has a meaning and a context behind it due to our social society of rules and our society's interpretation of certain words. The word emotional is actually the issue, not emotions. So oftentimes when men hear the word emotional, because we lambast women for being emotional, we are trying to create a divide between ourselves and women. And so when we want to be uber masculine and be in our manhood and our, and be a man, we separate ourselves from women. We create them and us. And so what happens is the word emotional, unfortunately, becomes a very negative stereotype to use because we've used it negatively on women. And one of the things I was saying last few weeks, one of the things that came to me while I was in Ghana and certain situations were happening was to say that I actually love the fact that, quote unquote, if we say women are emotional, I mean, I think men are emotional too. I think we all a little emotional here. But I love the way that women are able to delve into their feelings. And the reason why I appreciate them is because God appreciates them. And the reason why God appreciates them is because it's a lens of looking at a situation through things not so black and white. Because there's nothing in this life that is black and white, right? I mean, quote, take what I said with a pinch of salt. I mean, there are things that are black and white. But when you're dealing with people and human beings, there's not often a black and white. There's so much gray or so much color in situations. There are perspectives that are from both sides, and then there's a third side, and you know what I mean? And so there's so many different things that are going on. So I really love the fact that, quote unquote, when women are when they see things from an emotional lens, because actually it helps us as men to be able to see things from a different plight, right? And sometimes as men we miss certain emotional cues because we ourselves don't want to sit with our own emotions. Sometimes we don't want to sit with the reality of something being, quote unquote, has an emotional attachment, or you made a decision through emotions. And I love the fact that when God created man and woman, he created them complementary. I can't do without you. You can't do without me. I'm learning from you. You learning from me. Right? So, but anyway, back to what I'm saying about this situation about men being angry, but then saying to us that, that they're not emotional in that particular sense, right? So I think the reality of the situation is this, that because of the connotation of the word emotional, oftentimes men will not accept that they are emotional or have emotions. This oftentimes stems from a lack of education and a lack of knowledge and understanding on our part as men. Because we sometimes don't get educated in the emotional realms, meaning we don't dive into understanding what emotions actually are and diving into what feelings are. Oftentimes as men, we dismiss this level of education and say it's for women. It's not. It is for men and women. And when you become a better person who understands they have emotions, you're better placed to serve the people around you, both men and women. Right? We are emotional as men because we are emotional creatures. We have been born to be emotional. But if you're talking about the negative connotation of being emotional, i.e. being irrational with your emotions, then that's a different conversation. And like I said, that then leads back to what we're saying about the lack of education, because being emotional doesn't make you irrational. Very much so, it does not make you irrational. In fact, what makes you irrational is when I'm going to go back to our Bible scripture. Be angry and sin not. The sin aspect is allowing anger to overtake your whole entire process and your whole entire thought process, your whole entire imagination, your whole entire speech. And anger becomes you, and then you react out of that complete anger without really thinking. Okay? Anger itself is neither good nor bad, because emotions do not have good or bad attached to them. The actions have good or bad attached to them, and the meaning we apply to them. So oftentimes when it comes to these type of situations, okay, and we're talking about the emotional education, we need to be educated. Okay, we need to be educated that there is anger, sadness, grief, fear, happiness, joy, and surprise or anticipation. These are the foundational emotions. And then there's a further like 26, or someone even said 120 something, if you really want to go further along with it. Different types of emotions. And you feel different things at different times. Many times men will say to me that many men will show you they're angry and tell you they're not emotional. And we can, listen, we are just as emotional as women, because let's have a little situation. Have I not been in a club? Have I not been in a club before? And a brother stepped on another brother's white trainers, and it turned out to be a fracas and a fight after. Have I not been in the club, and a brother stepped on a brother's trainer, and before I knew it, the brother was lighting the brother up with punches? And you want to tell me we're not emotional? We are just as emotional. What you're talking about is emotional reactivity. How sensitive we are to our emotions and being heightened in those emotions, and then what we tend to do with those emotions. Men are just as emotional. You touch a man's wife and see how emotional he gonna get. In fact, the Bible tells you, you will suffer the wrath of a man who's married and he touches his wife. And I'm talking to myself a little bit here. The good Lord want to shade me even. So in that sense, you want to fight a brother because he stole your wife? What's going to happen? You're going to be angry. You're going to feel emotion. Anger is an emotion. Anger is not separate from emotions. It is a part of the emotional wheel. Okay? All right? So just in case, I thought I would just bring this up as well, because I like to bring up bring up stuff. I thought I'd bring up a wheel. I've been looking at my wheel recently, and I've been loving it. I can't lie to you. I love looking at it. So let me just put this up here so you can see. Okay, so an emotional wheel, right? I've got a few more minutes because I've got to get off. Half an hour's about to come and go. And so look at this emotional wheel here, guys, right? I'm going to look at the anger part, right? Mad, yeah? Hurt, hostile, angry, selfish, hateful, critical are all part of the emotional wheel. Distant is a part of the emotional wheel. Some of you think you're stoic. You are distant, my brother. You've got emotions. Sarcastic, frustrated, jealous, irritated, skeptical. They are all a part of the emotional wheel. Okay? They're all a part of the emotional wheel. Look at scared, confused, rejected, helpless, submissive, insecure, anxious. You're feeling these things. You're feeling bewildered, discouraged, insignificant, inadequate, embarrassed, overwhelmed. My biggest issue is a lot of us as men, a lot of us too are not educated in emotions and what they actually are. So when you're not educated in this place, you tend to deny the very thing. And the reason why a lot of men don't like to acknowledge that they're emotional is because it will shake their whole entire foundational and their world. I remember when I gave my life to Christ, and obviously when you get indoctrinated by your church, when I say indoctrinated, not in a bad way, but when you are taught by your church and by your parents and this and that, you have a particular frame of theology. When someone else brings a different theology or framework of theology and it trumps yours, you've got two choices, or let me say three. One, you can accept what they said and go, do you know what? I'm going to believe what you got to say. Two, you become very fearful and you want to quit the faith in general. You're just like, I'm tired of the faith. Number three, you get angry. You get angry because why are you trying? You're trying to shake me out of my delusion. I don't like it. You're making me angry because you're shaking my world up and I don't like it. I'm now unstable. People get angry, right? People get angry. And I'm one of those people too. When someone did it to me, I mean, when someone said to me about tithing, I said, no, I'm going to pay my tithes. People, please don't play with me. Okay. And then, because he was shaking my world. And then eventually I realized tithing is not for us new saints. But anyway, that's another story for another day. So when someone's shaking your world, it can become very frustrating and you can become very angry. A lot of times we are not educating in what emotions actually are, and we're not educated in what some of our behaviors are that are led by our emotions. So I chose anger because for a lot of men, anger is one of those emotions that isn't vulnerable, quote unquote. And so therefore, they can accept that they're angry. Because in reality, if they're angry, it's not vulnerable. I'm not a softie. I'm not you can't take advantage of me. Anger is a show of strength rather than a show of weakness, quote unquote, right? But in reality, you need to be able to learn that there are different types of emotions. There is jealousy, there is envy, and that's another one that brothers know. Brothers know jealousy, okay? They know jealousy very, very well. That brother's jealous. The women are jealous of us, but the reality of the situation, jealousy is on your part. There's so many other things, okay? There's so many other things that go on with this, okay? So I need you as a man, and if you're a woman too, if you're detached from your emotions too, this is going to help you too, to start actually researching what emotions actually are. I want you to look at the emotional wheel and start to realize that some of you are displaying these emotions. You are not free. You never will be, and you never can be. You are an emotional being because you are a human being, and therefore you will display these particular emotions. So men are just as emotional as women. There's no such thing as women being more emotional than men. It is a lie from the pit of hell. It doesn't exist. We are all emotional, okay? Men go to war for the littlest things of disrespect. You felt emotional. You felt feelings. You felt like the person disrespected you. That is emotions. That is feelings. You deal with them just like any woman too, okay? All right. So make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification. Please, if you've been touched by this, please comment down below in the comment section if you're watching replay, if you're watching it live. I love the comments you guys are making on the side. My time is up, and I will break this video into two. So you'll see the video again on my channel, and I'll break it into two so you have separate videos. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of uploads. Shout out to Dorika. She's actually right. I need to iron my shirt. Thank you very much. You're absolutely right. I was in a rush this morning when I wanted to do this. So thank you. I'm about to go out and buy some starch as well. So I need to iron it, get some starch, make sure it's also nice and pristine. I won't be like this again. Thank you for the word, Dorika. I appreciate you. Much love, much appreciation, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow for another live about therapy from a men's perspective. Much appreciation. Bye.